Good morning. I'm in Turkey right now. Behind me is a Hagia Sophia. In front of me is the famous Blue Mosque, or the Sultan Ahmed Jami. These two extremely important historic buildings are symbolic of thousands of years of conflict between East and West. This is the crossroads of those conflicts, and the people I speak to here thought that all of those millennial conflicts were behind them. They're shocked to discover that that is really not the case. Consider the Hagia Sophia, which Elizabeth and I visited today. For 1,113 years, this was a Christian church. But then in 1453, 4 decades before Columbus discovered America, it fell to Sultan Mehmed, who conquered this city and converted the Hagia Sophia into a mosque. Then, 63 years later, right across the park from here, Sultan Ahmed built the Great Blue Mosque. His explicit goal was to literally overshadow the Hagia Sophia and to send a message to the world about the rising power of Islam. These events were not just local or symbolic. When the Hagia Sophia was a church, Turkey was an integral part of the Christian Byzantine Empire, stretching from Spain to Judea to North Africa. And then, when the Hagia Sophia was a mosque, Turkey was the center of the Muslim Ottoman Empire, encompassing nearly half of Eastern Europe, the Balkans, the Middle East, and again, North Africa. That's the history. Now, let's fast forward to the present. Today, this country is the primary gateway for jihadists on their way from Europe to join ISIS in Syria. It's the primary gateway again for jihadists on their way back from Syria to launch terrorist attacks in Europe. And it's also the primary gateway for over 1 million war refugees and migrants who have fled the Middle East to Europe. Just last month, the government suffered the most massive coup attempt of any NATO nation in history. And right now, everyone here is engulfed in or surrounded by an equally massive purge of the military, the courts, the universities, and the media. Just in the last few weeks, thousands have been thrown into jail. Tens of thousands have been dismissed from their jobs. Almost every institution of this society has been turned inside out and upside down. Even the army, which has traditionally been the number one stabilizer of the modern Turkish state, is in disarray. Step by step, President Erdoğan has been pivoting Turkey from the west to the east. And at nearly every step of the way, forces loyal to Western interests and culture have been attempting to stop him. The recent coup was the most desperate and dramatic such attempt, but it backfired. And now that same coup has given Erdoğan the excuse he wanted to clean house and get rid of any West-leaning elements of society. He says he's trying to form something that's, quote, more perfect. Not a more perfect union, but rather a more perfect Islamic nation. All this seems to have taken the U.S. State Department entirely by surprise. Again, this should not have come as a surprise. Here's why. For 42 long years, Turkey has occupied northern Cyprus, an island nation which is now a member of the European Union. Cyprus has always been a major thorn in the side of Western Europe, but nothing that Europe has ever said, and nothing that Europe has ever done, has made one whit of difference. Turkey continued to occupy northern Cyprus. The fact is, Turkey has always wanted to influence or even dominate the politics of the Middle East. In April of this year, for example, Turkey made major efforts to court Iran, including a $30 billion bilateral trade deal. And most interestingly, Turkey controls all the waters that flow into Syria and Iraq via the all-important Tigris and Euphrates rivers. That gives Turkey massive leverage over the destinies of those two countries. All of this is very frightening. All of this is pointing in one major direction: a upset of the delicate balance of power in this region, which in turn will drive still more flight capital to safe havens like the United States. The question is, at what point does this global crisis cease boosting our markets and begin to drag down the global economy even further? And for U.S. investors, the question is, when does this crisis morph from a bullish force into a bearish force? That's the big turning point that my team back home in Florida and I are watching for every week and every day. So count on us to do our best to warn you. But alas, the conflicts are not limited to Turkey, as you'll see when I go to my next major stopover, the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Peninsula.